Deep beneath the desert lies a hidden world of stone. Down a long tunnel cut into the living rock, out of the darkness rises a coffin so vast it dwarfs anyone who stands beside it, carved from a single block of granite and polished until it gleams. There are more of them here, one after another, waiting in the gloom of the galleries. This is a tomb, but not for a king. Before us lies the last resting place of the sacred bulls of ancient Egypt. Welcome to the Serapeum of Saqqara. We find ourselves at Saqqara, a great burial ground on the edge of the western desert, southwest of the city of Cairo. This was the Necropolis of Memphis, the ancient capital that once stood nearby on the banks of the Nile. For thousands of years, the Egyptians laid their dead to rest along this ridge of sand and rock, crowding it with pyramids, tombs, and temples. Somewhere beneath the surface here, out of sight, run the buried galleries we have come to find. Above the galleries stretches an endless field of pale desert, broken by the shapes of ancient monuments half swallowed by the sand. For century upon century, Saqqara served the great city of Memphis as its city of the dead. The Nile ran green and fertile to the east, and the living dwelt in its valley. But here on the dry western shelf, where the sun goes down, the Egyptians built for eternity. The surface gives little hint of the vast chambers hollowed out below. The reason for this place is a single animal, held sacred above all others. The apis was a living bull, chosen for the special markings on its hide and kept in honor at Memphis. To the Egyptians, it was no ordinary beast but a holy creature, tended by priests, adorned with fine trappings, and consulted as a bearer of the divine will. Only one apis lived at a time, and when it died the whole land mourned as though a god had passed from the world. The Egyptians believed the apis bull was a living manifestation of Ptah, the great creator god of Memphis. Ptah was worshipped as the craftsman of the world, the power who shaped all things into being, and his temple stood at the heart of the ancient capital. In the sacred bull, that divine presence was thought to walk the earth in flesh and blood. To stand before the apis was to stand before the god himself, made visible and breathing in the sanctuary of Memphis. When the sacred bull died, it did not simply pass away. In death, the apis became joined with Osiris, the lord of the dead and the promise of life beyond the grave, and so it was worshipped as Osiris-apis. Centuries later, when the Greeks came to rule Egypt, they took this name and reshaped it into their own god, Serapis. From that fused divinity, the whole site takes its name. Before us lies the Serapeum, the great sanctuary of the buried bulls. The death of an apis set in motion a solemn and costly rite. The vast body of the bull was carried to the embalming halls, and there preserved with the same care given to a great pharaoh, treated with natron and oils, wrapped and anointed over many days. It was a labor of devotion on an enormous scale, for the beast was no small thing to prepare for eternity. Only when the long ritual was complete could the sacred bull be brought here to its tomb. Now we leave the daylight behind and descend into the rock. A passage cut through the desert stone leads down into a network of long galleries, corridors driven straight through the bedrock and branching into the dark. The air grows cool and still, and the sounds of the surface fade away. Lamplight falls across the rough-hewn walls and pools on the floor ahead. The tunnel leads down and onward into the silent heart of the Serapeum. As we go deeper, the galleries open on either side into a long row of great recesses cut back into the rock. Each is a chamber hewn to hold a single burial, a deep niche carved out of the stone with room enough for something immense. The workers who made this place drove the passages far into the bedrock and hollowed out these vaults one after another along the way. In the shadows of each recess waits a coffin of staggering size. Here in the niches stand the sarcophagi, and their scale is hard to believe. Each was carved from a single monolithic block of granite or basalt, a coffer taller than a person and long enough to hold the body of a bull. Their sides rise smooth and sheer, their lids as massive as the boxes beneath. Before us, the dark stone gleams faintly where the lamplight touches it. To stand beside one is to feel very small against the ambition that set it here. The weight of these coffins defies easy imagining. A single sarcophagus here runs to many tens of tons of solid stone, a burden so great that moving it through the narrow galleries and lowering it into place seems almost impossible. Yet the ancient workers quarried each one, hauled it across the desert, brought it down into the rock, and set it exactly where it was meant to rest. The sheer effort locked into every block speaks of a devotion beyond measure. What amazes even more than the weight is the precision. The surfaces of these granite boxes are worked flat and true, their corners crisp, their sides polished to a mirror smoothness that has survived the ages. To achieve such accuracy in one of the hardest of stones, with the tools of the ancient world, is a feat that still puzzles those who study it. Before us, the fine craft of the mason meets the raw mass of the mountain of stone. This was not the work of a single lifetime. Sacred bulls were laid to rest here across many centuries, from the days of the New Kingdom down into the age of the Greek pharaohs who ruled after Alexander. Generation upon generation buried its apis in these galleries, extending the tunnels and adding coffin after coffin as the years rolled on. The long rows of sarcophagi vanishing into the dark are a record of faith kept faithfully for age after age. For a long stretch of time, the Serapeum lay forgotten, its entrance buried and lost beneath the drifting sand. Then, in the 1850s, a French archaeologist named Auguste Mariette followed clues left by ancient writers who had described an avenue of sphinxes leading to the tomb of the bulls. Digging into the desert, he uncovered the hidden way down and brought the galleries back into the light of the world. What had been sealed and silent for ages was opened once again. Even now, much about this place keeps its secrets. How the great coffins were shaped and moved, why such labor was poured out for the burial of an animal, what rites once filled these corridors with light and chanting, we can only partly know. What remains beyond doubt is the enduring power of the Serapeum, the hush of the deep galleries and the mute weight of the stone. Before us it waits as it has for thousands of years, patient in the dark. And so the Serapeum returns to its stillness, as it has through the passing of empires and the drift of the desert sand above. The sacred bulls are gone, their worshippers long vanished, yet the galleries endure and the vast stone coffins keep their silent watch. It is a message from a vanished faith, carved into the living rock and speaking still across the ages. Thank you for watching. Follow for more interesting people, places, and things we cover on the channel.